Good afternoon. This is the Planning Advisory Committee meeting for the Municipality of the County of Kings for Wednesday, June 14th. It's 1 o'clock. I'm calling the meeting to order. We still have a couple of members who have not taken their seats. Other than that, everyone is present. Deputy Mayor Lutz will be joining us shortly. And we have not had any communication from Councillor Allen, but we'll assume at this point that he will be joining us as soon as possible. Are there any amendments to the agenda before us? Nothing? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please. Councillor Granger, Ms. Gagnon. I always have these hitches at the beginning. We are going to use the voting system today, so if you register your vote for approval of the agenda, please. And while we wait for the 10-second delay on that vote, are there any disclosures of conflict of interest on the one item we have on our agenda today? Nothing? Great. You also were given the minutes from the May 9th Planning Advisory Committee meeting. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to go through them. If there are no amendments or changes to be made, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Okay, thank you. Ms. Friars? Deputy Mayor, thank you. And if there's no discussion, you can register your vote now for approval of the agenda. Or sorry, approval of the minutes. And was there any business arising from those minutes from any of the members? Nothing? So we have only one item on our agenda today, and that is an application to discharge an existing development agreement and rezone a property on Prospect Road. We have a new planner in our midst today, Ms. Alice Jacobs. She will be presenting to us on this. Welcome. And your light is on, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone.
Just one moment, Ms. Jacobs. Thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Gagnon?
Sorry, Madam Chair. Did we skip item 8, approval of Centreville Area Advisory Committee members, or are we doing that after
We'll go back to
business?
it. That's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs, it's all yours.
Thank you. So this is an application to discharge an existing DA and to rezone the property located at New Minas. The map here shows the location of the subject property, circled, sorry, it's supposed to come up. The property is located at 5352 Prospect Road, New Minas, and the PID is 55199-137. There it comes. Okay. So in November 2005, a DA was registered on the subject property. This DA enabled the previous property owner to develop an auto repair shop on the property. The shop was to be located on the building marked as existing garage on the site plan over here. And as can be seen from the site plan, the development envelope applied only to this part of the property where the dwelling and garage were present. So the previous property owner, however, did not proceed with the development of the auto repair shop. And now the new owner, the applicant, purchased this property in 2022. The property still has 2 existing structures, the residential dwelling and the garage. The applicant would like to now repurpose the garage and convert it into more residential units. To be more specific, he likes to add 4 new bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and additional living spaces in the garage. And in order to do that, the existing DA will have to be discharged and the property will have to be rezoned. The rezoning is necessary because the property is currently located in the C5 highway commercial zone. The C5 zone does not permit any residential uses as of right. So to develop more residential uses, the property will have to be rezoned to C3, which is the mixed commercial residential zone. So the property is located within the New Minas Growth Center, and it has a lot area of 4.12 acres and a road frontage of 440 feet. The access to the property is from Prospect Road over here. And these are the existing structures on site. This over here is the residential dwelling, and this is the garage. The buildings sit on a relatively flat surface on the property, but if you look at the entire site, there is a gradual slope declining in the northwest direction over here. And the rear end of the property is heavily vegetated. As I mentioned earlier, the site is located in the C5 highway commercial zone. The C5 zone is usually intended to complement established commercial areas. So it permits commercial uses that usually serve the traveling public and commercial uses that are not usually desired within the main street commercial areas, and also commercial uses that would benefit from the high traffic volumes. And this map here shows a future land use of the property. The property is expected to continue to be in the commercial designation in the future as well. These are some of the photographs of the property. On top of the slide is a key map, just for reference. The spot marked in yellow on the key map is the access to the property, shown in the image to the left. And the spot marked in green is shown to the right of the slide. This image shows the existing garage and the residential dwelling. These are images of the adjacent properties. So the spot marked in yellow on the map is shown to the left of the slide. There is a residential dwelling behind all those trees. And the green spot marked on the map is shown to the right of the slide. And there is a residential dwelling as well. And these are some of the images of the rear end. Again, the yellow spot is shown to the left of the slide, and the green spot is shown on the right. The rear end of the site is heavily vegetated. So a public information meeting was held by the previous planner on the 21st of February 2023. 12 letters were sent to property owners within 500 feet of the subject property. No questions or concerns were recorded on file by the previous planner. And due to some technical errors, the original presentation was not recorded. So a re-recording of the presentation was later added to the planning website in May 2023. Now, moving on to some of the policies that enable this application to occur. I will first go through a set of policies that enable the discharge of the DA, and then move on to some of the policies that enable the rezoning to happen. So, policy 5.3.6 of the MPS states, Council shall consider proposals to enter into a development agreement pursuant to section 225 through 230, inclusive of the Municipal Government Act, on the terms and conditions set forth in this municipal planning strategy, and the development agreement shall, c, set terms by which municipal council may terminate and discharge an agreement. So this here is a section from the DA that discusses the discharge. Section 4.4b of the DA states, the developer shall complete development of the auto repair shop within 12 months of eligibility to execute the agreement, or the agreement may be discharged by council without the concurrence of the developer. So here the previous owner did not actually proceed with the execution of the agreement within the allotted time frame, and the auto repair shop was not developed on the property. So according to this section, the council may consider the discharge of the DA. Now, some of the policies that enable the rezoning of the property. Policy 5.3.3 from the MPS states, Council shall consider amendments to any of the zoning maps of the land use bylaw, provided the application is for a specific development and is to rezone land to another zone enabled within the same designation, unless the zone change is specifically prohibited within the strategy. So the proposal here is to rezone the subject property from highway commercial C5 zone to mixed commercial residential C3 zone, which is within the same designation. So the proposal complies with this particular policy. And policy 5.3.5 states, Council shall consider in relation to all application to rezone land, A, the applicable zone placement policies, including any specific policy criteria for applying the proposed zone set out within the strategy, B, the impact of both the specific development proposal and of other possible uses permitted in the proposed zone, and C, the general criteria for amending the land use bylaw set out in section 5.3, development agreements and amending the land use bylaw. So the proposal here is to rezone land to C3 mixed commercial residential zone. The C3 zone usually permits all forms of residential uses, even multi-unit dwellings containing up to 16 dwellings. It also permits other lower impact commercial uses that we usually see in residential areas like retail stores, restaurants, businesses, medical clinics, and so on. So the property is currently in an area that is generally residential in nature at this point. And the highway commercial zone, which is the current zoning of the property, permits uses like automotive sales, repair, heavy equipment, and other uses. So these uses might have far greater impact when compared to the proposed development. And so staff are of the opinion that this application to rezone to C3 zone would be appropriate for this property. This is the policy 3.2.2 from the MPS that states the zone intent. So mixed commercial residential C3. Lands located in this zone are intended to complement established commercial areas. These areas shall generally be located on main transportation corridors and associated side streets that have commercial development, traditional main street areas within commercial areas that have not yet experienced much development, or areas where flexibility between residential and commercial uses is desired, and to permit both residential and lower impact commercial uses such as local retail or business offices in the same area of a growth center. So as I mentioned previously, the subject property is located in an area that is designated for commercial development, but it has not experienced much commercial development yet, and the area is primarily developed with residential uses. The property is also close to various commercial establishments along Prospect Road and is also close to the new Minas commercial street. Also, Highway 101 is less than 1 kilometer from the property. So staff are of the opinion that the development would complement the established commercial areas, and also blending residential uses with the commercial uses might help reduce the transportation needs of the residents, which is one of the goals identified within the commercial designation section of the MPS. So staff are of the opinion that this development would be consistent with the intent of the C3 zone and the MPS. So some of the other policies and visions from the MPS, under the vision on settlement, one of the settlement priorities is to enable and encourage a diversity of housing throughout the region. And this property is located within the New Minas Growth Center. So under the secondary plan for New Minas, the guiding principle which states a place for people, one of the key directions states, enable diverse housing options that cater to a variety of household sizes and compositions, life stages, physical needs, and economic needs. The housing proposed here on this property will be for housing foreign workers who work for the applicant's business. So staff believe that the proposal would be consistent with promoting a variety of housing needs within the municipality. So the proposal was also assessed against the various criteria listed under the General Policies 5.3.7 of the MPS, and the proposal was found to be consistent with the intent of the MPS. No financial impact on the municipality is expected from the proposal. The development would be compatible with the surrounding land uses, which are mostly residential at this point. And the property is also within proximity to schools, recreation, and other community facilities. The Department of Public Works confirmed the adequacy of road networks and did not indicate any concerns. The adequacy of fire protection services was also confirmed by the Kentville Fire Chief. There are also adequate water and sewer services servicing the property. And the site is also suitable in terms of grade soils, geological conditions, and utility right-of-ways. So in terms of our process, we are currently at stage 4, which is Planning Advisory Committee, and AAC was not required for this application. The next step would be the first reading with the council, followed by a public hearing, and then a second reading, which will be followed by a 14-day appeal period. So staff are of the opinion that the proposed rezoning from highway commercial C5 zone to mixed commercial residential C3 zone is consistent with the intent of the municipal planning strategy, and it also complies with the relevant general policies. So staff are recommending a positive recommendation. And with that, I pass it back to the chair.
Thank you very much. I'll open the floor for questions of clarification from staff, or to staff, sorry. Ms. Gagnon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's just to better understand, the C5 zoning, does it permit one residential dwelling as well as the commerce section? Is that why these 3 properties, the subject property and its 2 neighbors, have residences on them? Were they there before the C5 zoning, or is the C5 zoning permitting the residential as well?
Ms. Mosier wants to jump in on that one.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Ms. Gagnon, the C5 zoning does not permit residential uses, so the houses on either side would predate that zoning and would be considered non-conforming.
Okay, and so in the future land use with this development change, are there any activities within the C5 zoning that would potentially cause conflict with having residential so close by, or having a C3 zone? Any type of these activities that are permitted in C5 that could potentially create disturbance, I guess, with places that would have multi-units or a C3 zoning?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Ms. Gagnon again, where the applicant is requesting to be taken out of C5, it's assumed that he understands what is permitted in the zone that he used to be in, with the understanding that the properties around him are also within that zone, and therefore he should have an understanding of what can be permitted near him.
Okay, but we wouldn't expect, like, I don't know, a C5, I guess, wouldn't have industrial, so it wouldn't have anything that could cause harm to residential people, like living there, in terms of emissions or anything like that.
Well, the C5 zone permits gas stations and auto repair, a significant number of automobile-related uses, so that's one thing that the owner of the property would need to consider as part of his due diligence in purchasing that property.
Okay, so it's his due diligence. It wouldn't be the municipality's.
That's correct.
Due diligence. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Killam.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question: when there's a discharge in the development agreement, does it have to get approval at all from the province? Is they involved at all in that?
Ms. Mosier.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Killam, a development agreement is a document that is between the municipality and a landowner. The province doesn't have a role to play in the approval or discharge of development agreements.
Okay. The other question, I assuming that this is within the fire district of Kentville, is it? Because I heard that the Kentville fire chief said okay, but I'm just wondering if it's Kentville or New Minas fire chief. That's all.
It is Kentville.
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other lights. So the recommendation before us is that the Planning Advisory Committee recommends that Municipal Council discharge the existing development agreement and give first reading to and hold a public hearing regarding the application to rezone 5352 Prospect Road, PID 55199-137 New Minas, from the Highway Commercial C5 zone to the Mixed Commercial Residential C3 zone, as described in Appendix B of the report dated June 14, 2023. Can I have a mover, please? Ms. Gagnon, Mr. Morris, thank you. Is there any debate? No? Okay. So on that, I'll call the question, and would you please register your vote now? Okay. Thank you. And that is passed unanimously. I will mention that Councillor Allen has not joined us, so we'll consider him absent from the meeting. Thank you very much. Now we'll go back to the one that I missed because I didn't have my glasses on. The Centreville District Community Development Association is requesting the appointment of 2 members to sit on the Centreville Area Advisory Committee. And the recommendation for that is the Planning Advisory Committee recommends Council appoint Doug Brown and Mervyn Stedman, members of the Centreville District Community Development Association, to sit on the Centreville Area Advisory Committee for a 1-year term. Usually it says ending in, but we'll leave that out. Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Killam, Councillor Granger, thank you very much. Is there any debate on this? Nope, great. So you can register your vote now then. And that is passed unanimously. Thank you all very much. Is there any other business to come before us today? Councillor Granger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a quick question while everybody's here. I got an email from a person that lives in my district, but their mailboxes are in Centreville, and they wanted to put lights there. And they noticed that they kind of drove around and saw Sheffield Mill had lights. I kind of think they're illegal, but I'm not sure. Wait, did I just say that? Anyway, I want to know who to ask. Should I ask their area, like their development association, if they are interested in doing that, or like who would do that, or how does that handle?
Mr. Borak?
I don't have the full answer, but it's done by bylaw, and that falls under our Department of Engineering, so there's a process to go through, so
Okay.
maybe we can chat after.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Killam.
Thanks, Chair. I received a call from a property owner that abuts possibly the new interchange in Cambridge and Waterville, the proposed one, and he was concerned with respect to there were some markers put that he felt was on his property, but he can't find the right person to go to get the information as to property lines. And I'm just wondering, who does he contact?
Mr. Borak?
Through you, Chair, to the councillor. So his question is really where the province has put the markers.
Just where they're proposed for the interchange. His property abuts that, I guess. What I'm
Okay,
hearing.
yeah, so we haven't seen any of that work ourselves, so it would be somebody with the Department of Transportation.
okay.
I might be able to track down a contact for you.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you. No further business? We have no members of the public with us today. Our next meeting date is July the 11th, 2023 at 1 p.m. From what I understand, it may be quite a hefty agenda, so we'll look forward to that. And if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor, Ms. Friars, thank you. You can register your vote on that motion now. we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.